And welcome back to Pokemon Team Creation Series. This particular one comes to us from Xenomorph of Fun, great name, who asked the question, why is the Pokemon team of Craig from Craig of the Creek? A show that, among many other suggestions, I have not watched. Obviously, I'm a guy in his early 30s, so this is not really a show that would have probably been up my alley at this point. So I tried to look into this character in this show, and I got Bupkis. And that's not entirely true. I got a little bit to go off of. I mean, his standard fare of like scenarios are your standard kid problems of, making friends, you're gathering stuff, learning life lessons, all that. He does apparently live in this weird area of the world where, and it's like a kind of fictionalized place. He does have a family, but he lives among a bunch of kids who like have a tree fort esque like society, which is interesting. So there is a little to play off of there. But other than that, though, there's really not much to go off of here. So I had to get a little creative. So first things first, I wanted to play off the whole concept of the tree fort, the living in the tree fort society. And what came to mind there was Four Tree City. That is a literal tree house town, village, city. So in that sense, I'm like, okay, that's something I can work with. That was a flying type gym that was there. So maybe we can lean something towards that. And I had two different ideas for that. One, I went with, honestly, I was looking for one of the flying types that was a bit more tropical. And the first one that came to mind was Thrumbeak. Well, technically it's the Pikipek Toucanon line. But I went with Thrumbeak because as a 10-year-old, he's not quite at that teenage year. He's not quite a teenager, but he is in his now early adolescence. He's beyond early adolescence then. Now he's going closer into that tween area. And I wanted to keep a couple of them on not fully evolved because it's representing him still needing to grow, learn life lessons, things along those lines. And Trumbeak, being from the Alola region, the most tropical to date region we have, made sense to put on there. The other one, which I've always been a big fan of this particular Mon that I put on the team, was my old friend Tropius. Tropius, I've always liked Tropius a lot. It's not the strongest in battle, but it's just a great design. I mean, it's a giant palm tree, banana tree brontosaurus, and it's just cool. This honestly, if you just redesigned it a bit, which I will eventually get to it at some point about redesigning that, and gave it the rock typing instead of the flying typing, this easily could have been a fossil Pokemon, no problem whatsoever. But the reason I go with this one is because again, you go with that idea of like a rainforest-esque creature. This very much would be one. And because it's a flying type, this is one as a kid he could actually navigate his environment with. He'd probably ride around Tropius when he needs to get around. So I like that as well. Last one that came to mind for this was Pessimian. And really, this just comes from the fact that it is a monkey, and monkeys live in trees. And it also comes from Alola. Beyond that, though, it is a sports playing monkey. It's a fighting type. And as a kid, I'm sure he likes to play games. Like, whatever, sport ball it may be. Now, beyond that, there wasn't much else to go off of for that. We do have a couple other things here, though. And it really just comes down to his staff. He has his staff with a crystal in there. So I'm thinking, okay, can I play with that a little bit? And I definitely got some for the crystal in Carbink. That I think is just makes perfect sense. That the Carbink can represent the diamond crystal in his staff. Beyond that, though, we also have Thwackey, who, being also a grass type and having two, I could have gone Grookey, but again, I wanted to go with the middle stage due to the adolescence kind of thing, growing up, and it's the middle stage. But last but not least, I also wanted to go with Marowak, and this is due to the fact that the bone club it has can represent the staff itself, and he still has a good relationship with his parents. He loves his parents, and Marowak is, a very motherly Pokemon when we really break it down. It's a Pokemon that unfortunately suffers a very bad fate in the original series. And then Cubone has to wear its skull. But ultimately, yeah, I couldn't do much personality-wise with him, nor could I do much else with the show, because I wasn't about to watch the entire show just for one video. Sorry, I was not about to do that. But I digress. This is the team I have for him. And honestly, it's a pretty balanced team. You have two grass and you have two flying types. So ice types are going to be a bit, and yeah, ice types are definitely going to be a problem for this team because the ground type is also weak to ice. So those are a bit of a problem. But beyond that, you have one rock and a fairy type. You have a fighting type, you have a ground type, you have a flying normal type, a flying grass type, and a standard grass type. So strengths and weaknesses, I mean, you do have a rock and a fighting type to help counteract some of those ice type moves, but two-thirds of the team are weak to grass or weak to ice. So that is going to be a problem. But beyond that, I mean, in terms of shared weaknesses, poison would be a little bit of a problem. I will say that. The fairy type is weak to poison. Fighting is not good against poison. Ground is strong against poison. And grass is weak to poison. So poison and ice are definitely problematic. That being said, there really aren't. I don't believe that is a type combination we have yet. Poison ice, if I'm not mistaken. Electric types really aren't that big of a problem, nor is water. I mean, for two of them on it is, but you got literally another half of the team that can just take on water, no problem. Electric types, like as I said, aren't. You have one mod that's actually immune to it. When you have immunity, it's a big thing. Ground types are really not a big issue. You get two mon that are immune to it, plus two that are strong. Bugs are not really a problem. Normal's not a problem. Ghost is not a strong issue either. Honestly, most of this team is not bad. And we got one that's immune to dragons. Although I'd still say it's not overly strong against dragons. And because Cardbank also doesn't have the best stats either. Apart from that, though, I mean, let's see. Fighting, it's strong. It's pretty solid against fighting. Psychic, Psychic's about 50-50. It's not strong against it, but it's not overly weak against it either. Then you have what? You also have Fairy, which is mostly neutral against it. Steel, which is actually Steel could give this team a little bit of a problem. The only ones that are really decent against Steel are Marowak and Passimian. Should note that except for when Rillaboom fully evolves, there are not very strong base stats on this team. Anyway, though, I digress. What about dark types, real quick? Actually, this team's pretty good against dark types. So anyway, that is the team for where are you, Craig? There you go. For Craig of the Creek. What do you think of this team? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Let me know in the comments below. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.